Today we're going to talk about the preparation and installation of 3D male and female embossing tools. Male and female embossing tools are unique compared to any other tools you'll find on the machine in that they require extreme tight tolerances within tenths of thousands. So everything that surrounds the tooling also has to have tight tolerances. And as we look deeper into the machine, we'll have the use of bearing blocks, which also need to be very tight in tolerance. They need to be in good condition. They can't be worn. Bear wipers that are saturated in oil need to be used at all times to keep the tool lubricated. An OEM truck that has verified and good bearings that are in good condition. We also recommend the use of hydraulic gauges so we can monitor the pressure on the tools. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the die station itself and its importance and its role in male and female embossing. The die frames need to be in excellent condition and match OEM specifications. The bearing blocks, which are a very important component of embossing, need to fit in the slots and have very little side play, and they also need to match OEM specifications and have a good bearing that's in good shape. You also will have to remove the base roll. Another important component of male and female embossing is the support roll itself. It needs to have bearers that are in good condition, a gear that's in good condition, bearings that are in good condition and match OEM specifications, both front and back, and also have a bear wiping system saturated in oil. When you open the lid from the box, on your male and female embossing set, you're going to find a certificate of conformity. You want to check that, see that it matches your PO and that all the specifications are correct for the tool before you load it in the machine. You'll also see an unload and instruction procedures, which we're going to cover in this video. You'll see two samples that have ink stain tests both on the front and back. We do that to make sure that there's no bleed throughs or cut throughs on the embossing tools. And then finally you're going to see a set of actual embossing from the tools on your material, and you should take a look at that, take a final look and make sure that it is indeed what you want before you load the tools in the machine. We now have the tools out of the crates. The work area is clean. We have a soft pad surface so that we don't damage the tools. It's very critical that nothing hits the surface of these tools. I also want to make note of two 3/16 alignment holes that are found both on the male and female tool. And what those are locator holes. They will provide alignments marks for the gear. Everything is in line. Additionally, if the tools should get damaged and are repairable, we will use those alignment holes in the future to align up the image. And what those do is when you pull these tools together, you'll see on the gear two dots and two arrows, and those need to be in line with one another. Also, before you put the tools in the press, you want to make sure all gear bolts are tight. If you can verify that everything's tight and in alignment, you're ready to move on to installing them in the machine. Okay, now we're ready to install the male tool, the tool that goes underneath into the press. And one critical factor when we install this is to get all the end play out of this tool. So it goes into the die frame and there's just absolutely no side-to-side play. You can see there's a little play there. You may have to add washers, and it may take just a little bit to get there, but eventually you'll get it where there's absolutely no end-to-end play. It's very, very critical that this takes place. You're also going to notice again the alignment holes on this tool and the mark is going to be straight up. When you set it down into the press frames, you want that to be straight up and down. Another tip is take oil and lubricate the side frames, both front and back. And then carefully set the tool down in the slots. Remember to keep the alignment holes up. It's going to be a little tight. And gently drop it down into the gears of the support roll. Now it's time to put the female tool inside the press. This is a little bit different than putting the male tool in that it's not going to have washers in between it at all. So this tool is virtually going to float on top of the male tool. And what's going to keep it in line is this tongue and groove ring that goes around both tools. Those are going to keep adjustment side to side. You'll also notice that we put these holes in a dead space so that we won't damage any of the imaged area when we drop the tools in the side frames of the press. It's also a good idea to drop a little oil on that ring. Just rub it all the way around. And that will keep any wear from happening. You also want to take note that we have these alignment holes like we mentioned before. It will correspond with the mark that we mentioned before that's on the operator side of the tool, both on this female tool and also the tool below it. Okay, now we're ready to put the female tool inside the press frames. And you'll see our 3/16 alignment holes as we mentioned before. We want to rotate those 180 degrees downward. And the goal here is to try to mate those up, two marks, with the male and female tool. So we will try to slide this into the frames. Now it's time to lower the female tool in the press frames, and we want to look at that alignment ring and make sure that those meet together and that the gears mesh and there's no side clip. Now we're at another critical stage. We just want to simply pick up the tool, just keep hopping it over until we're aligned. And you can see the two marks are perfectly in line with one another. Now we're ready to run the job. Okay, at this stage of the process, we now have an opportunity to check for alignment, make sure the gear is properly meshed, make sure the bearers are on top of one another, the alignment ring, male and female groove are riding along inside one another properly, and everything is in place. I also want to mention the importance of bear wipers like we talked about before. They're at a pinch point between the female roll and the support roll. There's another set which you can't see from this side of the tool that look just like this, and they'll ride at the pinch point on the left side of the tool. We recommend a mixture of Mobile One and STP mixed 50-50 for this solution. Okay, now it's time to put pressure down on the tools. I want to make note of one thing. Again, all press manufacturers have a different style truck. At times, these trucks can interfere with the alignment rings. And in this case, this one has been modified. You can see, although this one doesn't interfere, that was one consideration we always have to make, is to make sure it's not hitting that ring. Okay, so we're going to lay this down inside the machine, and we also want to make sure that it's in line with the bearers. The bearings on the truck are in line with the bearers, and nothing is hitting anything. Start the truck. And again, we stress the importance of hydraulics when embossing. At this point, we do not want to place any pressure on the tool. We're going to feed the paper through, and we do not want pressure against these at this time. Okay, we're going to do one more alignment check, and you'll notice at this stage there is no pressure on our gauges at this point. What we're going to do is we're going to jog the press around, and we're going to listen to the tools. As you can hear, there is really no noise, and it's exactly what you want to hear is no noise. It's If you've heard any metal-to-metal type noises, you want to immediately stop the tool and check for alignment. Now it's time to feed a web between the two tools, and what you want to do is get those alignment marks together again on the front press frames. You can look through the slot and make sure the two dots are aligned, and you should be able to safely pull the web between the two rolls. Okay, we webbed the press. The press web is under tension, and it's time to jog the press forward and establish our emboss image. All tools run at different pressures. What we want to do is just rotate back and forth. Take a look at the image. You want to put as little pressure as you can to achieve embossing and still get the image you want. However, don't be afraid to apply a lot more pressure. You can apply considerably more pressure than that to achieve an embossed image. And now we've achieved the perfect emboss. This concludes our setup procedure of male and female embossing tools. If you should ever have any technical questions, look us up at www.rotometrics.com and locate your nearest service center, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have on embossing.